I'd like to call the regular meeting of February 24th, 2014 to order at 6:03 p.m. Roll call. Mr. Kuderich?
Present.
Ms. Bowles?
Here.
Ms. Kraut?
Here.
Mr. Thied?
Present.
Ms. Funderburk?
Here.
Ms. Beard? Here. Ms. Buckley is here. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. I'd like to let everybody know also that we're working from an amended agenda from what you got in your original packet. The item that was added was item 6, discussion of superintendent search. Also, under the consent agenda, all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If any member of the board or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion of the agenda. Item A, to approve the minutes of the Board of Education of the regular meeting of February 10th, 2014. Mrs. Bowles notified me that I'm going to let the secretaries know there's some spelling errors with her name in the minutes, so I'll get those corrected. So I have those mentioned on record. Item B, approval to approve the personnel actions as submitted by Rebecca Peck, Director of Human Resources. Employment of a latchkey aide at Wick Elementary, effective February 20th, 2014. Accounting clerk, accounts payable for Romulus Community Schools, effective February 10th. A second grade teacher at Hale Creek, effective February 13th. And a kindergarten teacher at Hale Creek, effective February 13th, 2014. Could I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the consent agenda with the changes to the minutes for February 10th.
Support, but discussion.
Motion made by Mrs. Funderburk, supported by Mr. Thied. I'm sorry, Mr. Kuderich. Mr. Kuderich, you have discussion?
Didn't some of these personnel actions?
I was just thinking the same thing.
On last meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, the latchkey, how many latchkey people do we have now? 3?
We just brought one in.
So that was on the last meeting, latchkey and kindergarten aide and all that. That's why.
Was it? Let me go back. I'll go back and verify
if
that. It's not an additional one.
Okay, that's why I was just wondering, because I thought we did most of them last month, or last meeting. I could be wrong.
I'll go back and verify that. If there's any, if they were brought forward twice, I'll bring that up at the next board meeting and verify.
We had a latchkey coordinator.
There's a coordinator.
Yeah.
We had a latchkey coordinator.
It's on there.
Yeah.
For February 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a latchkey aide.
Aid, right.
Yeah, that's,
No, these are not the same people.
No, they're not
No?
same.
No, these are
One's-
different. These are
One's a
new.
coordinator, non-union.
okay, she's got, hang on.
I got the wrong one.
It's not?
No, it's not the same.
Coordinator will be
Speak up. That's it.
Okay.
That's
No,
good.
I believe you. I was just.
That's the same agenda, right, from last,
I got last week's.
Kindergarten teacher.
yeah, the names are different.
Yeah, not.
One's a coordinator, one's an aide, I know.
Okay. I thought it was.
Let's see when you got two.
Actually, I got the one before, so you got the
That's
right
fine.
date.
All right, let's.
Okay, so I
That's
have,
the only one, so.
okay, I have a motion by Mrs. Funderburk, supported by Mr. Kuderich. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. The next item on our agenda is report of the superintendent, Mrs. McAnally.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
First thing on the agenda is RHS FCCLA. They want to have your approval for a field trip to their, I want to say their state conference in Midland, March 26th through March 28th. And that's for the high school, not the
Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Education approve the proposed field trip for the Romulus High School FCCLA students to Midland, Michigan for the State Leadership Conference, March 26th to the 28th, 2014, at no cost to the district.
I have a question.
Support. Motion made by Ms. Funderburk, supported by Mrs. Buckley. Discussion, Mrs. Bowles?
I'm just, I was looking at the document, and I just need some clarification, because it says at no cost to the district, but then at the bottom of the document, it says, is district transportation needed? And they put yes.
They're paying for the transport.
Okay, so they're gonna pay for the so how does that affect with, the outsourcing of transportation? That won't affect us in any way?
Because they already broke it down for if they want field trips, this is the cost that they're gonna bill us. And so these guys will take care of that cost.
Okay, where is that in the documentation that states they're taking care of it?
Because it says no cost to the district here.
But then on this one, it says, is district transportation needed? So why don't they have it written up that they're,
There's transportation needed, they're gonna use the district's transportation, but there's a fee to that transportation.
what is that? Okay, so do we have documentation stating that we will not be held accountable for it? Because that needs to be in writing, I would think.
Well, it's here in your proposal, no cost to the district.
I think what she's asking for is, where is it saying how much they're gonna be paying the district
Thank
back
you.
for the transportation? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Like what the cost is to the group, is it $100, $200? I think that's what she's trying to ask. Am I correct?
Yes.
Now, is this, when we did this before, isn't this how we've always done it? They always pay the district, when they pay for transportation, they just reimburse the district for what the transportation costs are?
And usually
And
a
I think-
purchase order is made out and then
Right.
given to that group to pay from.
But I think what Tamika's asking for is the cost of how much it is.
Because even on the next page,
Is that what you're asking for, Tamika?
In front of you.
Yes.
But anything that this trip would incur would be their responsibility, not the district.
Okay, so the bus drivers, because the other trip is on Saturday,
Everything.
so, everything. Okay.
Everything's, yeah, taken care of.
maybe it'd be easier, like, right here on the next page where they have, the total cost for the trip will be $130 per student, which 90 goes to registration, 40 for hotel. Maybe they want to put,
Right.
Maybe
so
we
much
can-
goes for the bus too.
Since
That way when they break it
we're
out.
used privatization on it, maybe we need to have the cost for the transportation on it, so we know. what the-
Again,
what
this
the
would be
group-
something we could put under our policy
Right.
changes so that they know.
In the future ones,
Put
not
these
this one,
in.
but I mean, in the
Right.
future ones, try to
Okay.
get it revised, so. And I just have one question then.
Well, I think I heard Ms. McAnally say something different too, was that the cost that we incur for the outsourcing of the busing, there is a certain amount, if I'm hearing it right, there's a certain amount of field trips that we're quote unquote okayed for under our contract. Is that what you meant?
That's not correct, is it?
No, no. We
No.
pay for every additional trip
There's
above
just a
and
set
beyond our.
fee for it, for the mile, for like miles or hours.
Let's say it's $28.95 per hour,
Okay.
that's what they would have to figure
Okay,
out.
if we can get that like on the future ones, we'll have to
And
get the
I
policy.
just asked her today, about how much is the cost for a field trip, and they stated one amount of money.
Yeah, and I think,
don't know the exact number, it was either 28.75 or 29.95.
And do we know if this bus is gonna stay there for the 3 days? It'll go, come back, and go again?
Yep.
Which, we don't have to pay for the driver for 3 days.
because again, we're okay at no cost to the district, which means there should
Yeah,
not,
no cost
there
to
would not
us,
be
They
no
will-
cost to
they
the
pick up the
district.
cost.
They would have to pick it up, because that's how we're approving it,
Right.
under those conditions.
And so what would you like for me? You want the exact hourly figure that the company's.
And the approximation of how many hours they'll be utilizing.
Yes.
But also,
Or the total cost of the bus and the
Right.
driver.
Oh, yeah.
but
And they might not know,
I'd
they
like
might
to ask for
they might have to
something
do it per
additional to that, is how much we used to pay. So that we know. what the
Comparison.
difference is. Yeah, give us a comparison of what we were paying before and now after.
I know it
since
was
we're-
$25 an hour plus mileage.
So I would like to know what that is,
Okay,
so we know what our savings are too.
good idea.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor.
Madam Chair, I got one question.
Yes, go ahead.
On the last page here, I'm not sure who can actually answer this, but it says, one faculty sponsor, 2 chaperones. The 2 chaperones, if I'm correct now, am I assuming these are Mr. Banks, who is one of our culinary arts teacher, and Mr. Patterson, so one of our teachers? These are during the week. Who's covering their classes? And who is paying for the subs?
CTE. It's all funded through CTE.
It's going to be paid for, okay.
Yeah, and that process is handled through the release time request process that we use internally in the district. When a teacher or staff member is asked to be released from their classroom, they have to complete a form, and then account numbers have to be completed. So this one would have gone through our CTE coordinator because it's a CTE program. They would have completed those fields in there so that we know what account to charge that sub to.
That's also for the second one, correct? Because source of funding for both is CTC.
Well,
That's just
hers is
our
on Saturday, on a Saturday.
Yeah, I just,
So there'd be no sub if you were on the second.
Right.
Is there any more discussion? Okay, I have a motion on the floor by Mrs. Funderburk, supported by Mrs. Buckley. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 7-0, motion passes.
Then we have another field trip, asking for board approval. This is for the HOSHA, group, our health occupation. And they are going to Oakland University for competition. And the focus will be in the medical field, learning terminology, and also leadership and communication skills will be focused on. And that's on Saturday, March 1st.
Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Education approve the proposed field trip for the Romulus High School HOSA students to Oakland, Michigan for the Student Leadership Conference, March 1st, 2014, at no cost to the district.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion made by Mrs. Funderburk, supported by Mr. Kudrick. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? 7-0. Motion passes.
I like what she did that.
Then the next thing on the agenda is update policies and the second reading of our policies. And Ms. Buckley is
Okay, so before you, you have a packet that has a pink piece of paper on the front of it, which are the 5 board policies that we'll be reading tonight for our second read. Based on the conversation that we had during the first read, the input that I received was 8454, which is the physical education new policy. I'm just going to refer right to that one. It's the last one in your packet. And these, our color printer had a little issue. So they're not in yellow anymore. They're just kind of highlighted in gray. The question was on the second page. And the question became the line that said, school staff should not withhold participation in recess from students or cancel recess to make up for missed instructional time. There was some concern with the board that this was too restrictive or perhaps something that we wanted to reconsider. There were some other ideas thrown out there. I ran them by the MASB, and they told us at this time it would be okay if we just struck that sentence. It keeps the policy a little bit cleaner. If we went a different way with it and you know, put some specific things in there, then it wouldn't give us the flexibility that just striking that particular line would give us. And it still allows us, we're still in compliance with the best practices policy for that.
Any other,
So I'm just going to read for the record the 5 policies that we're doing our second read on. The first one is 7050 curriculum development. This is a legislative amendment to Michigan School Code. Students are already currently able to participate in online and blended learning courses. The section that we're considering here today formalizes this practice into the board policy. Are there any questions by the board or concerns about the language for this policy?
The question on the 7649 with the certificate bearing. I know, I had asked a question about like MIAT. Did we look into whether or not the, certificates need to be mentioned in this as well?
Oh, no, they do not. Thank you. Yep, they do
So it's
not.
all inclusive?
Yep, it includes everything.
Okay.
So 7630, I'm going to move to the next one unless there's any other comments on the curriculum development, 7050. 7630 is graduation requirements. Online learning courses or learning experience incorporated is currently required for all graduating students. This formalizes the board policy. Any questions or concerns about the language that's being added here today? 7649. This is the post-secondary dual enrollment option program. This is a new policy. This is a legislative requirement to the Michigan School Code. Students currently have this enrollment option, and we follow the school code in our compliance. This also formalizes the practice and board policy. Mrs. Funderburg expressed some concern, which we got clarification to. Is there anything else in this new policy that the board needs to discuss tonight?
I think we hit on it pretty good last time.
Yep. The fourth one is the testing program, Board Policy 7650. This is a revised policy. We are already monitoring academic growth through competency-based assessments, NWEA, and we are in compliance with the MEP and MME requirements updated here. This also formalizes our practice and board policy.
I just, I know that, there's new legislation coming up for that smarter balance.
Right.
Will we have to go in and revise this?
Most likely. But that's still, you know, that seems to be a moving target still.
Okay.
So, but yes, we will,
But just as is,
Right.
this covers what we're doing now.
for right now, that's correct.
Okay.
Puts us in compliance with our best practices as well. And then the last one, which is the one we touched on first in this conversation, 8454, the physical education. This, again, is a new policy. We are already in compliance with the Michigan State Board of Education policy on quality physical education. This formalizes the practice and board policy. Are we okay with the language as is in the second read? And, Madam President, we'll need a motion.
I move that the Board of Education adopt proposed amendments to board policies as presented for second reading for policies 7630, graduation requirements, 7649, post-secondary dual enrollment option program, 7650, testing program, and 8454, physical education.
Support.
We have a motion by Mrs. Kraut, supported by Mr. Kudrick.
Madam Chair, discussion. On the motion, I didn't see 7050 in there.
7650?
7050. Then we have,
It's the first one.
No, it's not. It's not in the
No, it's not
recommended.
in
talk
motion.
about it in the motion itself.
In the motion, it's not in
I
there.
don't see it.
We gotta add that one.
So can you
No.
add?
I'd
can you
like
add
to
the
amend
7630,
the motion to
7649.
include 7050, curriculum development.
Yeah, it's on
It's
the
not
top
on,
sentence.
oh, it is in the top.
It's just under top.
It's not in the.
Oh.
In the motion.
I'm so
Right.
sorry.
Ms.
My
Kraut just
apologies.
added, Ms. Kraut just added it, so.
Thank you, Ms. Kraut. I was reading the topic, and you had already corrected that.
Okay, I have a motion by Mrs. Kraut, corrected to include amended board policy 7050, along with the others that she had mentioned, supported by Mr. Kudrick.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Madam Chair, I have breaking news. The girls' districts, we won 69-10.
69 to what?
Close game.
Wow.
So, I know we played Wednesday,
You said 10, right?
10.
Did the other team know the game started?
I don't have the details.
Actually,
I just got the score.
Actually, we walked off the court and they scored their 10.
They probably threw the ball to somebody.
We have been playing very well lately, so.
Must have a good
Okay.
defense.
Thank you, Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
No, you're
Breaking
fine.
news
That's
is
great.
always good.
Good news.
That's good news, is breaking news sometimes.
Okay, the other ones are interest, we have the Wingspan newspaper. We don't know what Romulus is all about, this paper's awesome. Highlights the high school, so yeah. Once you're finished, you can show it the wages. Then you also have the Chartwell's, newsletter. And then also included is a flyer that, when our high school goes to visit at, school fairs, they'll be passing these out.
Along with them cards that they had and everything.
Fish.
Now, are these some of our students, or are these kind of like,
No, when we
Stock
got our
photography.
students, so these are stock right now.
okay,
That's our big
That one girl looked
our
familiar, though.
students on our flyers, so that, they can represent us.
Places never use real people.
I know, but we need our real people, so it's,
Because they always look at the camera.
Oh, this is,
that ends my. Oh, sorry about that.
One more.
The study's got a session, and that's to discuss board goals, because looking at these that are taped to our desk here, we have to update them.
Yes, we do.
yep.
And get us focused in the right direction.
Yep, we do.
We need a date.
We had a conversation, we just wanted to get some numbers budget-wise also, before we had that meeting.
So we're looking at.
In March.
Do you wanna do it on a Monday? 'Cause since we,
I'm thinking we can do it on an off Monday.
Mondays are best for me,
maybe the,
personally.
We were thinking either the 17th, well, the 17th is right, the 17th, right, 17th or the 31st.
It's that Monday, right?
What do we have
Either
so
one is
far
okay.
scheduled with everything?
Yeah, either one's fine with me,
the
actually.
10th we got, well, I think Marie's coming back on the 10th. Then we got a meeting on the what's the 13th?
On the 24th, we got a meeting.
The 10th is a regular meeting though, right?
The 10th and the 24th are regular meetings.
Well, how long of a study session do you think we're gonna have? To have a couple hours? Okay, then we gotta do it on an off Monday then.
Right.
The 17th or the 31st is okay. for me.
17th and the 31st are the options we're
Where,
looking at.
where does midwinter break hit in there, though? I mean,
Winter's done,
no,
Tom.
winter break is.
Not the
you're
one-
talking about
put 'em-
Spring break?
yeah, that's
It's
what,
not till April.
April
Yes,
18th.
It's late this
To
year.
the 25th, it's
Okay.
later this year.
I'm happy with the 17th. I mean,
17th's good for me.
So does March 17th work for everybody?
how about you?
Yeah, that's right.
Are you working, Steve?
You okay with the
I'm
17th?
good on something.
Okay. I think,
Okay,
Good up
so
here.
6 PM or
I think everybody's
earlier?
good.
we can,
Just
if we
for-
want to do earlier, we can do earlier. If we want to do 6, we can do 6.
What's 5:30? Can everybody get to
I-
5:30?
5:30, Sandy?
I can be here.
To me, you guys are the ones that work, that's why I'm asking.
Speaking, Sandy, though,
I can be here as early as 5, so you guys tell me, I'll be here.
Not 5 o'clock for me, I'll be here like 5:30.
So you want to do 5:30 then?
That's fine.
March 17th at 5:30,
Okay.
study session.
casual dress.
Well, we know, you said about our goals. I remember in your note, you said, what, 5-year goals? Is that what you were talking about?
Just looking out for our district goals here. I'd like to go 5 years out, so that we have the data to look at. And then it can be reviewed.
And we're probably not going to do that
Right,
one
because I'm
night.
like, 5 years, that's a long time.
Yeah,
and we
we're
got
not
some stuff we
doing
need to
that.
deal with right now.
We're not doing that one night. We're just talking
Okay.
about
Jumpstarting
our
it.
vision, what we're
do
looking
we wanna
for,
head
where
to?
we want to be.
Okay.
In 20 years, what do we
And try to tweak. 'Cause
Retired?
these are old.
Okay.
We need to do something with these.
But real, can we kind of, as we begin to that discussion, can we get data on, you know, where we've come from as we began these goals and where we stand as of, so when we meet, we have something in front of us that'll show us how we've progressed in the goals that we've set? So then that way, it'll give us a gauge as to whether or not do we need
No,
to
these are the
change
board
these, or are we just, you know?
These goals were established in 2009,
These are-
correct? Okay, so data from 2009 to current.
Once
And
again,
we're talking
it's
ACT for
what
the
we
high school.
decide. Now,
Yeah.
anybody?
So then that way it'll give us an opportunity to reflect
This is
and see
board
whether or not
goals.
we're like totally way off as
This
far
is-
as the
this is Board of
expectations,
Education.
or,
This isn't
you know, were
superintendent.
we
This is
dead
us.
on,
We
or,
wanna see these
you know,
students
do
do.
we need to, you know,
I'm just
refine what
involved.
we have?
Are there any other requests so that we have time to gather the information?
No, but it was a good idea to kind of see where we've met to the goals we had previously, to see if we've achieved them, and
One other thing too is, I know when we set these, we also, you know, and I don't know that we have, I have to look back in my stuff, but we also, oh, I'm sorry, I'm out of the mic, sorry, everyone. We had also set like a hierarchy on, how we would make decisions. So like, we talked about what was important to us, our tax base, students, you know, and I don't even remember exactly all the categories, but what it was is it kind of helped us on how we processed the decisions that we had to make. So, you know, what's the most important, being fiscally responsible? Was it the student curriculum? You know, so then that way we could kind of gauge what we were basing our decisions on. But then also too, what it helped us do is when we prepared our agendas, then we also had the category and what that agenda item fell up under. So if it was something pertaining to, say, purchasing books, then it hit the fiscal responsibility and the curriculum category. So I don't know if we need to revisit that as well.
I think we should.
Yeah.
We got the, I know what you're talking about, I
I'll
got
have
them
to dig
somewhere.
up.
Yeah,
got some
I
of my
have to
stuff
dig
together,
for it,
too.
but it was more or less, and I, you know, with everything that's been happening, everybody here, we've been in knee-jerk reaction as far as, you know, making decisions, and so I would really like to get back to, you know, when we make those decisions, what are we basing it on? And not that it's just, you know, we're responding to things that have happened, or, you know, but that we are definitely giving, making sure that we're diligent in our responses and the information and why we're making the decision that we're making. And not saying that anybody just knee-jerk, but there can be times where, and when you get in the heat of a moment, that you respond to the crowd, you're responding to, you know, so I think we just need to make sure that, that we have that in front of us as well.
I think you're talking about those board priorities we had, and I think
Yeah.
there's like
Yeah.
5 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have them somewhere.
But it goes back to that we have the data too, so that we can set measurable goals to say,
Right.
yes, we're achieving that, or no, we're not, let's get our goal and
And what do we need to do?
Just change it, or
reorganize.
I think your mic is, he's sticking his head up. Your mic
Move
is
your
off.
mic.
Sorry about that.
And just while we're talking about dates, on the March 10th one, I'll be out of town from March 5th to the 10th. I should be back for that meeting, but I'll be in Florida for work, so I'm due to come back Monday morning, so.
So
But
your
it is
question
Florida.
mark. Question mark.
yeah.
I should be in by noon on Monday, so.
I know, right?
And since we're talking about dates,
Rub it in.
also, before I go on to the next item, March 5th, 6th, and 7th, and March 12th, 13th, and 14th, I'll be out of town, but I am available by email and cell phone, which everybody
I will be
has,
like
so.
that, too.
Do we not have a meeting on the 13th?
no, the 10th and the 24th are the only days.
No, right, 13th was tentative, we're not there yet.
Oh, okay. Ooh, that's work. Yeah.
You said fifth, sixth, and seventh?
Yeah, 5th, 6th, and 7th, and then the 12th, 13th, and 14th.
I don't think that's us.
I'll be going to, I can put that under members' reports, that's fine. The next item on the agenda is discussion of superintendent search. It's been, I've talked to a few of us here, and it's kind of been asked of me if we think we need to slow down the train here a little bit and possibly keep our interim superintendent and extend her contract out a year, and then continue with the search after that when we get more on stable ground. I'm willing to entertain it. I just wanted to bring it up for discussion and see how the rest of the board felt about it. I did talk to Marie Miller to see how it would impact us. Right now, if we were to do it at this point, she said this would be a good point to break if we're going to break, because we haven't gone that far into the process yet. We only had 10 people come to the public meetings that we held. So I don't know if we want to try, if that will give us time to maybe to build up more community support.
Did we get feedback from the people, or how did that work?
On the survey?
She said she hasn't gotten the results back from the survey yet. She did tell me that today. So I guess I'm putting it out there. I just kind of want to know what the board's feelings are and what we want to do with this. And we need to let her know. She did state that if we're going to do this, we need to let her know by before she comes on the 10th, as far as how we want to handle this.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I'll go first. What I've thought and been thinking and hearing, this is my 2 cents, is, we brought in the last superintendent, and then we went into the debt elimination plan. They were here 6 months, and now we got another interim superintendent, and we tentatively got him for 6 months. We're in 2 years into this debt elimination plan. We get another superintendent here. It's going to take a couple months, maybe 3 months or so, to get them spinning their wheels and catching up. We can't keep restarting. I think if the current interim is wanting to stay for the year, and we can get I think it's the REA that we have to get approval from to stay, if that's possible, if the board agrees, I think that's probably the best thing we could do, for the simple reason, we've got somebody, we're not constantly going backwards, and it might actually make Mrs. Peck's job just a little bit easier, because she's not trying to bring somebody else up to speed, and somebody else can share some of them other decisions instead of constantly getting the questions asked to all the time. And, that's my 2 cents. I think, if we get it rolling, we're going to start over again, and we can't keep starting. We don't have the time. The clock's clicking on us. It's not going backwards. That's just my 2 cents.
I think my only question would be, like, at this point, they're only gonna charge us the mileage. We're not gonna pay the $5,000 fee again. If we have that long gap, are we gonna have to start at day one and pay the fee again?
We would have to start at day one, start over. And that doesn't necessarily mean we would have to go through MASB either. And that doesn't necessarily mean that after a year, we may want to, if Margie wants to stay in the position and we want to offer her the position, we could do that also. That's an option.
I think that my 2 cents is that we put it out to the public. We were looking for a superintendent. I'm not going to sit here and say that I believe that it's all on the citizens of the reasons of why it was such a low turnout. I know I looked into some things myself that I didn't see take place the way we had discussed it, to be marketed out to the public. So I think that since the word is out to the public, though, that we are looking for a superintendent, we should go ahead and go forth with what's already been out there in the public, instead of just backtracking and sitting back on it. It's something that we need to tie these loose ends up so we can move forward, because we do still have a deficit elimination plan that we need to be definitely focusing on, and we need to get somebody in place so that we can continue to look towards getting out of the situation that we're in as a team, instead of holding off the position and then having to worry about later somebody switching and changing and then trying to get them caught up. That's how I personally feel about it. I think also that I did go to one particular program one particular program that took place in the city. I was not pleased by the fact of knowing that there was supposed to be communication going out to the public in regards to the superintendent search, and they didn't know anything about it. Had I not came back to the program after trying to support two different activities at the same time, there wouldn't have been anybody that would have made made any kind of communication to the public, period, about the superintendent search. So I just feel like personally we need to keep going forth with it, and that we can't sit here and put all the blame on the citizens in regards to not showing up. I am very grateful and thankful for the ones that did come out, and that's a start. So
I can, if I can just say
Go ahead, Ms.
something.
Buckley.
I'm thinking about it, I can think about it both ways, because I'm looking, we've already put it out there, and then, then we're kind of backtracking. Had we not gone forth, started it, I wouldn't have any issues. My thing is, I look at it, okay, I think about what's best for the district. Where are we at? What's the best thing for us right now of where we are? I believe Margie is qualified. I think she's making great strides since she's even been in that position. It hasn't been that long. But I'm sure we would be having a savings because we won't be paying her a superintendent wage for a year. So that would be savings. So if we did have to do the $5,000 again, we would have saved that anyway. So I don't know. I'm just, I guess we need to discuss it more because I'm kind of trying to weigh
Well,
it out.
time is of kind of the essence,
Mhm.
at least in Marie Miller's mind, because we either need to proceed on or we stop it right now. And, you know, make our commitment. She said the knee-jerk reactions is what's, you know, gonna hurt us in the end, and showing us as being as indecisive.
Right.
Madam Chair, go ahead, Ms.
I know one of the things for me, just in looking at what has transpired up until now, I just really kind of feel like whether we continue the search and get someone new, or if we decide to let Ms. McAnally continue, I really feel like our largest issue that we need to address as a board is getting the support systems in place to assist her on, or him, or whomever, on their job. Because if we don't do that, it doesn't matter who's in that seat. They are not going to be successful. And if they're not successful, then we aren't successful as a district. And so, you know, I think that also needs to be included in this decision-making process, because, you know, and I'm glad that she brought up revisiting the goals, because maybe we need to actually, too, sit down. We know that we have to save, it's, you know, that cost of labor and supplies and resources. What are those non-negotiable items? What are those non-negotiable positions? We know the state of Michigan says that we have to have a superintendent. We can't get around that.
Right.
And so that's a non-negotiable, you know, but also too, so then is the curriculum person non-negotiable? Is the business person non-negotiable? All those other entities that help run this central office, you know, we need to figure out, well, can we get the job done without having a person in that, or can we outsource? I know Ms. Bowles mentioned at our last meeting, are there other districts near us that maybe we can work out an agreement where we're sharing responsibilities. And I know that we've had kind of had some brief conversations on that before we got fiscally in trouble, but I think now it's even more imperative on, you know, what do we do? How can we know we need to get this particular thing done, and how can we best accomplish that with the amount of money that we have, but knowing that this is an important thing that needs to take place. And so, you know, I'm kind of on the fence. I could go either way, you know, having Ms. McAnally on as interim. You know, I see the benefits of the cost savings like this, like Ms. Buckley mentioned. The fact that she's been in the district, she has history here, she knows what's going on, what's taking place. She knows and lives here in the community. All those little things that people have been saying, don't we have somebody qualified that lives within our district, that knows about us, that's family? Well, she's family. But then also on the flip side of that, we've already started the process. It's out there that we're looking for a new superintendent. So then, does that look crazy? You know, nepotism. So I kind of see what Ms. Bowles is talking about. So, you know, I could go either way, but I just, like Ms. Buckley said, I want to make sure that we do what's best for the kids, what's best for the district, you know, what's best financially, but also knowing that if she doesn't have whomever sits and occupies that seat, if they don't have the people that they need in place to get the job done on all the different responsibilities, then we set that person up for failure. So that's my thing.
I think I agree both. I can see the pros and cons of it too. And I think I think someone mentioned was it Marie Miller saying the knee-jerk reaction. I think whatever we do, I can't speak for Mrs. Kraut, but I know me and Tamika, I think that was our first search for a superintendent. I don't know if Ms. Kraut was here before for one. I'm not sure, but.
It was my
Karen
first
was
one, too.
already here.
Okay, then our three, but
It was
the
my
way that search was done and the way we picked that superintendent, I thought that was a knee-jerk reaction by the way we sat here that night and put everything on that board, and like our decisions were like flying fast, you know, that night. I would like to see come up with a whole new way to grade somebody, you know, almost like a point system, and all the points are added up among the board members on the evaluations, and then the person with the highest score wins. I mean, because that would be the majority of the board. But that night when we were sitting here like candidate 3, candidate 5, I was flipping back and forth because like I felt under pressure that night, you know. So I think whenever we do decide to do the search, maybe we need to sit down as a board and maybe think of a way maybe we want to do a grading system to pick the individual out, if the board so wants to talk about it. I mean, I don't know how everyone felt about that night and that.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I don't
It
have a
was,
problem with
it was
talking
like,
about
to
it.
me, just,
I think we could talk about it.
yeah, it was so confusing to me.
Comfortable with it.
Huh?
I think if there's something that any of us are uncomfortable with, we can talk about it.
Okay.
We should be able to talk about anything and then come to some kind of agreement on how we want to do it. And I'm sure that if we did, that MASB would work with us to do it the way that
That
we
we
would
like
feel
to do it,
comfortable
right.
doing it. So as long as we discuss it and talk it out, I don't see a problem with it.
But the main topic on this is, well, I'll say everybody else had their say, so I'll talk about what my ideas were. When it was brought to my attention, I agreed with the theory of getting a cabinet, if you want to call it that, or making sure that the team is in place for the superintendent, whoever it may be, when they come in, is in place. We are struggling severely with what we have in place right now. We're paying large amounts of money for a consultant and for Anna filling in as best she can, doing the everyday things. I just don't feel like we have a permanent person in that position that should be looking out for all of our interests that have experience in that area. And I almost think that's a higher priority almost than the superintendent at
It
this
is a
point.
high
Where do we stand on that? Are we done with the business? I mean, is anybody putting applications in anymore for business manager, or is that?
We reposted again
Okay.
about a week ago, a little over a week ago, and that posting closes in a couple of weeks. So far, I have not received any viable candidates, but you don't usually see the viable candidates until the last 3 or 4 days of the posting.
So you're thinking about it.
And I just want to let you know also, I hadn't said anything to anybody. I was going to say this at the end when it came to comments. But in regards to what I was talking about in the last meeting about getting the resources, I am trying to gather information now. You all know I don't come to the table unless I bring some evidence. So that's why I hadn't said anything about it, of a way to do it. I am working with some people to see if we can gather the information, bring it to you all, and then we can all decide as a group if that's something you want to do. In regards to trying to see how we can combine resources with the districts. So I just wanted to let you know that.
And then we also have the issue of our curriculum and grants supervisor. We have a lot of grants right now in Title I funding that's not being looked at, I mean, it's being looked at, but it's not being done on a, on a basis the way it should be. And we have potential that we could lose big money if we don't get our ducks in a row.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm nervous in. I do feel that Margie has done an excellent job so far. We've had meetings with the city. We've talked. We've been getting some good rapport with the city. I guess my main thing is we just need to make a decision and stick with it.
Amen.
Because I don't want to be sitting back here in 3 months going, okay,
Flip-flopping.
here we go, nope, we need, so I guess that's why I'm asking for the board what we want to do. Do we want to keep the interim in place for the year until everything else is done, or do we want to continue with the search so I can let Marie Miller know what we want to do?
Well, honestly, I think, when you just talk about the cabinet, people are going to apply, they're going to look at the leadership, and if it's not decided who's the leadership or stable up there, or, somebody's going to be there a little bit, they're kind of wondering, are they going to come over, what's going to happen to them? So, it goes back, if we leave the interim, at least we got some stability a little bit, and then we can fill in them other 2 positions, and if we have to, we can go back to the superintendent, or do we go for the superintendent first and try to fill in them 2 positions? But
I'm going
we
to
gotta do
read,
one, we can't do,
I'm
I'm going to
I'm
just read
just-
from an email that Marie sent me, just kind of addressing that just to an extent. It's just something to think about. She said that we can extend the interim position until July 2015, which is the year, or you could offer a 1-year contract as superintendent, if Margie's interested. And then she said that, there's always, the clause that she has in her interim already that she goes back to her position when the position ends anyway. So I'll make sure that that clause is in there also. She also said if we wanted to discuss this further before the meeting that she has on the 10th, that's fine, to let her know. She would have the written report finished and she can supply it sooner than March 10th. So if you guys want to see it before March 10th, we can do that. And then maybe when she's here and we can ask her some more questions, we can make a decision then. But I was hoping to at least let her know which direction we were leading towards.
I just don't want to, I really feel, as I stated before, had we not put it out to the public, it wouldn't be no problem. I would see things maybe from a different perspective. But we put it out there to the public that this is what we're looking for. For us to go backward at this point, it's just, I think it's going in the wrong directions. We sending out the wrong message to the community. And, that's just my whole concept, if this is something that we've already said we were going to do, I think we should just go forward with it and take it from there. And that's my personal opinion. It's nothing against Ms. McAnally. You have every option to apply if you feel the need to, but if this is what we said, we've already made it known to the public, we need to go forward with that. And that's how I feel about it.
One other thing, if I could add on to my comments from earlier is, we also need to be thinking about whomever sits in that seat is, and I think one of the things that it kind of, this particular issue resolved in was the fact that we were not well, I shouldn't even say we, but there was contention with our previous superintendent. And the issue that I'm talking about is contract and how long that person is holding that particular position. You know, and I'm sure that everybody here, when you're working for someone, you know, it's nice to be able to have, or at least to have an idea of how long you're going to be working. You know, do I have a 2-year contract? Is it 3 years? Is it 5 year? Is it 1 year? And when we are talking about looking for candidates who not only are qualified, but they're quality candidates, you know, it definitely becomes a lot more appetizing if the contract is a longer contract. And then that way, too, it gives us an idea of how long we're going to have this particular person at least committed to the district. You know, is it going to be a 2-year commitment? Is it a 3-year commitment? Is it 5, or is it extended? So then that way, you know, we can set some very reasonable, realistic goals on how long we're going to have that person. And I could definitely say that, you know, if I'm being offered a position that I know that I'm going to be there for 3 years, you know, am I looking to be there for 3 years, or is it 5 years? And that helps me make my decision on whether or not I want to commit to this particular job. And so I think that that's something else that we also need to be thinking about, because when you're talking about people who are not only qualified, but that they have some quality and some content, you know, they're not going to want to be someplace where they're sitting up wondering whether or not they, you know, going to get the boot in a month or so. So I think that that's definitely something that we also need to be having a very, you know, intense conversation about, because, you know, it makes a difference in the type of person that is going to be here.
Stability.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned that like a few years back, that it was confusing that all our admin had a 1 year and then some had a 2 year.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no problem with like a long-term contract as long as we just have some kind of that breakout clause in it, you know, due to any kind of misperformance, I guess, you know, that, you know, we can cut that contract, you know, if the person's not performing to the standards that need to be. I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, I brought that up before. It's just confusing.
And
Someone
I
had
always,
a 1 year
what
and a 2
confused me
year.
was how the rolling over process.
Yeah.
You did a good job of explaining it to me, Rebecca. Could you kind of explain how that rollover thing works? Like if you give them a 3-year and then there's they have their 1 year evaluation or whatever, and you extend it, the 1 year, then it goes to, it then changes to 4?
Well, actually, it retains whatever the number of years on the contract is, so.
Retains 3.
So if you have an administrator with a 3-year contract, I'll use the last superintendent contract as an example. At the end of your year, or actually by April, because there's some timelines in the contract, if the board decides, you know, I don't want to extend this contract I don't want to extend the contract. They had a 3-year contract. They worked for that first year. You chose not to extend that contract. They're now sitting on 2 years. So the next year comes up and the board decides, you know, I want to go ahead and continue this contract. They're on a 2-year contract now, so you've extended their contract for another year. Or you could say, I'm not ready to extend this contract again. Now you're down to 1 year. So once you get to that point where you're not extending that contract, that changes, that now turns into the length of the contract if it's anything more than 1 year.
But once again, you give that feeling of that person could be looking for a job, and now we're going to be minus another position that
Exactly.
is going to hurt us
And
admin-wise.
that's where it hurts you.
Our grants or our
Yeah.
money, and,
Yeah.
you know.
What, I'm curious, like Van Buren, Huron, Taylor, Belleville, how theirs are, because I guess I look at it as, if I get there and I do a good job, the odds are I'm gonna be staying there.
Right.
But if I get there and I'm not doing a good job, I don't deserve to stay there. So I guess because I am not a union type person, I guess I would expect my actions to speak for my abilities.
Your performance,
Well,
right?
the superintendent evaluation is tied into that too, so.
But also too, one of the things you have to think about in the superintendent position particularly is the fact that we are an elected board.
Right.
So you coming on or liking the person who occupies that particular, whether they be evaluated or not, depends on the person who occupies the seat. So you may have people who come in with a personal agenda to want to get rid of a particular superintendent.
So where are you going with that? I'm
What
trying to
what I'm
understand why you
saying
brought
is-
that up.
And what I'm saying is this, is that.
You know, I'm just trying to understand. Did that happen here?
Yes,
When did that
yes,
happen?
exactly, that's where I'm getting
Okay,
at.
yeah,
What-
put it out on the
what-
table. When did
what-
that happen?
What it means, really, I think, if I can try to sum it up, when the seats on the Board of Education open up and new members, I mean, you could have a board that everybody agrees 100% that
Right.
candidate A was the best one. Now elections come around, then you maybe have one or two people that got newly elected, and now there's
They
only
don't
5
like
of the originals, and them two say, you know what, I don't like them because they wear a red shirt. We're not saying anybody here, the board has done this right here, but I'm saying, you know, that's kind of perspective they could change that quick, so they could say, well, you know what, I don't want to have them anymore.
So
I'm
then
gonna
it impacts whether or not you're going to extend the superintendent's contract.
Well, how does that happen though? If there is an evaluation that takes place and actions speak
My
louder than
question, too.
words, and the people here have already made a decision based on whether whoever's here or not, whenever the election comes, you know, we don't have no control over
Right.
that.
Right.
But it should be based upon the majority of what everyone thought, based upon the work of that person. So whether you like it or not, I may not like you personally, but your work speaks for you. And I'm not here to like you personally. I'm here to make sure you do a job, just like I'm here to do a job. So if I don't like you, whether or not, that doesn't matter, which I don't think that should ever be, because I like everybody. But the point of it is, do you do your job? You didn't get hired in whether I liked you or not, or who you were friends with. You should be here based upon whether you can do the job or not. And if you can do the job or not, hey, regardless of whoever come in, it's evidence that you've done it. You got to roll along with the program.
Let me ask you something. Have you, now, I don't mean to be critical here, Ms. Bowles, but have you done a superintendent search yet?
Or no,
I mean, evaluation yet?
No.
No,
Okay,
and
now
that was
let
the
me
issue. That's what
explain,
we're
let me
dealing
explain.
with. Yeah.
What happens is each member is given the entire evaluation. Each member scores the current superintendent on everything, okay? Every member has the exact same evaluation. All them evaluations are scored from 1 through 4, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. What them
That
evaluations
was
are done.
previous evaluations.
Right,
It'll be
but-
different now.
But
because
them
the law
evaluations
changes.
are
Because the law
compiled,
changes,
they're
yeah.
given to the vice president of the board. The vice president of the board takes all them evaluations together with the comments. Now, the new one could change, but this is the old way. They compile them all and say, let's say the max score a person could get was a 5 for this category. Well, if 4 people score a 5 and 2 people or 3 people score 1, that's going to affect the number. So whether they can walk on water or slice bread, that score could be a 3, or it can go down. So it can affect it. That's what she's trying to point out. Is whether you like the person or you think their job's great and you score them great, if somebody scores them low,
Right.
They
And that's
should
it.
have to, but am I right to say, if you score them low, you should be able to give me factual evidence that lets me know
There's-
why. If we're dealing with enrollment, let's say that's one of it. It's an enrollment situation. As a board, we say, okay, superintendent, this is our goal. We want to increase our enrollment. And we say, ready, set, go. And she goes out and she gets and does her thing, her activity-wise, and she comes back and it improves. Well, I'm going to have documentation, or anybody sitting here, you can say, well, I don't like this. Now I'm going to say, okay, well, look, according to my document on this day at this time, this is what the board decided. This was our goals. We gave her an objective or a goal. She went out and she completed that goal. So did she or did she not meet our expectations?
that's-
Yes or no?
that's where you've got it
right.
good understanding. But the thing is, if you say she's got to go out and increase this student population, she comes back and says, I got 2 students. Well, 2
That's an
students, wait a minute,
increase.
that's an increase. But then this board member says, well, that's all you got. That's not an effort. So it's got to be more clear.
See,
So-
Tamika,
so
I
there's a lot of-
think, see, what I think what it is that, okay, you have 7 people, it's subjective. So what you think is a good job and what I think is a good job is probably two different things. And then, when you say, okay, if you get something below this, we had in there, if you get something below this, you
You
have
had to
to
put a comma
explain
in
why. In a perfect world, you're talking sense.
You're right.
You're talking,
Exactly.
no, you're
Totally
talking, you're
agree
talking
with you.
sense,
Right.
but sense don't always prevail.
Right.
So I'm just saying, you're talking like perfect sense, but it doesn't always work out that way. So even though you have to give backup information as to why that happens, it doesn't always pan out that way. So you're going back and forth, back and forth.
But explain to me this. If, okay, we said that was the goal, and we're just using that as an example, and then we made it more detailed, because we need to be as much detail as possible. We said, okay, we need it increased by this amount, okay? And the whole time, our superintendent is coming to us, keeping us informed about what's going on and saying, this is what I've tried, this is the results of what I've tried. Coming back to the board and saying, okay, do you have any other options that we as together can come together and work on? That makes a difference than someone that says you give them a goal and then they're not giving you any kind of informing the board of what's going on. I can at least say at that point in time, we gave them a goal. They may have come short of that goal, but they kept the board informed of what was going on the whole time, and we're working towards that than someone that just doesn't update us and tell us anything of what's going on. So it can always be different reasons as to why, a goal is met or not. But the whole thing of it is did we get our goal? Did she initiate the goal and work towards that? Did she inform the board of what's going on, and can we move forward from there?
Yeah, that's fine, but what I'm saying is that, and they'll say, okay, that's what you think, that's your opinion, but I'm not changing my numbers because this is how I feel about it.
And
Well,
it's
the
happening.
bad thing
And
is,
I'm not talking fictional stuff.
Yeah,
Okay, so, and that happens, which will bring, so sometimes the numbers are screwed, because you got, you might have half the board, you can have,
And
four
this is
people that
one
think
of the
you're doing
reasons
good.
why we're gonna be looking at the new
Wait,
evaluation.
because the current evaluation is
I'm telling you,
outdated and
it's
it does not
crazy.
meet the right categories.
Yeah, so you're
I mean,
talking
if,
sense.
yeah, that's in a perfect world, like they were saying, but like we
Okay.
mentioned it a few years ago, that the evaluation we use is not concurrent with what's actually on there. I mean, there's like
Well,
4 or
that's-
5
that's what-
categories,
that's what
like,
the new
I mean,
evaluation
there's
is.
4 or 5 categories. One has to do with the board relationship, one has to do with the superintendent's relation with the community, another one does with this, and there's like 5 or 6
And now
topics.
there's categories though too that we'll have on there that we have to have on there by law.
Yeah.
He has to be, the superintendent has to be evaluated by law on these certain categories, and that's included in there now too. The other ones we can adjust to our liking,
Yeah.
but those we can't.
Right, but I said all of that to say that
Right.
a lot
Can we
of
get back
that,
to where we were?
a lot of them having a contract, especially the superintendent contract, because they're elected by, they're appointed or given that position through the board members. And especially now, seeing that now we're going to be 4 and 3 as far as our vote when coming up for our future elections, you can have 4 new people sitting on the end that don't like Sister So-and-so, who are like, you know what, we need to get rid of this person. And I know that if you're going in a perfect world, what you said makes perfect sense, and I would love for it to be that. But it's not that
Yeah,
sometimes.
I guess I'm gonna
Yeah,
ask what I'm saying, because
it-
it
it-
doesn't
and I'll
make
use-
sense to me to be able
So-
to evaluate somebody based
Right.
upon your personal opinion of them.
Yeah.
I would like to know,
It happens.
And I'll
It
use,
happens.
and I'll use myself as an
It
example.
happens, it's subjective.
The 2 I did, was Superintendent Weiss, and me and him, I mean, like everybody else on board, we'd have our nights where me and him went at it and stuff, but I think the issues that me and him went at it wasn't on the evaluation, so I could not give him a bad away. I mean, every evaluation was average for him with me. I kept him right there because the questions I answered, did he do this, did he do that, then I would check it appropriately, but the disagreements I had with him didn't fall onto the evaluation, so I couldn't hold him responsible for that, and I think every night with him, we always left in good terms, but, the problems I had with him wasn't on the evaluation of the issues. So, I couldn't, hold that against him when I did his evaluation. I answered the evaluations fairly, and he got average all the time. You know, he didn't get below average or above average. He just always got average because, in my sense, you know, his community or what he did with the board. So, I mean, I use me an example.
But
on
what
that,
the
you
whole
know.
thing was, well, I guess going back to what Danielle was saying, getting back to the contract thing, we weren't showing longevity.
Yeah.
There was no promise of another,
Extension.
you know, so what reason was for that person to do a better job?
Yeah.
Or put themselves out there extra?
And like we talked about the right people in place, you know, we really only run the superintendent.
Right.
And to me, I always thought it was weird that I had to vote on the curriculum, or I had to vote on the HR and the business manager, because those aren't my people I run. You know, the superintendent runs those people, and if they're not doing a good job, then I shouldn't even see that contract in front of me. You know, technically, and I always wonder, why am I voting on that contract when that's the superintendent's place to put that person in that position, and if they're not doing well, beat up the superintendent on that, because, you know, if that he or she's recommending that person to us and they're not filling the position out, we shouldn't even see those, or why we're voting on them. So,
But since we've been in this debt plan, even before, you have some board members that want to see all of that. They want to decide the
Monetary amount.
right, I
monetary
understand that,
amounts.
right.
They want to vote on those things.
Right.
So, you know,
Hold on.
that's how it is.
So,
It's just,
I just wanted to add a little bit more to the conversation about length of contracts and whatnot. And this isn't, I'm just giving you more information for your consideration. The teacher tenure law is in place specifically because of the conversation that we're having here today. Teachers, back in the day, a teacher's employment was really determined by the political wind of the day. So what was happening in the teacher world, and this transgresses to public administration as well, is that as different political bodies took over, their agendas kind of took over, and we had these high turnovers of teachers, and I'm talking way back when the tenure law was first put into place. So I just kind of wanted to add a little bit more. You know, there's a lot of history behind this conversation that you're having at the administrator contract level, because, you know, it kind of fed up from the teacher tenure level.
So are we trying to make a decision based upon unknown factors? I mean, it's a possibility that everybody that's sitting here might be the same people that's still here. You don't know that. So I kind of feel like we trying to approach the future when in fact we don't know what the future holds. All we can deal with what we have right now. And if that situation happens, it's not up to either of us. It's up to the citizens of Romulus to be able to see through that and to see that these are not people of integrity and get them out of here. And I mean, I'm not trying to be, I'm just being honest. We're elected by the people. You know, if I come to you and I say, show me proof that you said she didn't do X, Y, and Z, and your answer is, I just don't like her, or I just can't see it, that's not good enough. And I'm sure if I can see that, the citizens of Romulus can see that too. And we are the voice of the people.
Now that we're kind of off topic.
well, and I,
In a way, it all ties together, but.
yeah,
We're off topic.
I guess the point of me having it on the agenda, though, was to I have to give let Marie Miller kind of know where we're heading and what direction we're gonna go.
when does she need that by?
She needs to know, and she's gonna be here on the 10th, but we're gonna have to let her know whether we wanna proceed or whether we're gonna extend the interim's contract. And she said it is not an issue. She said that it's fine if we do it, and if we're gonna do it, now would be the time to do it before we go any further into the process, because right now, she doesn't even know how many people have even, put in, or, you know, how well-known it's out there, that, as far as in the market of people applying for the job. So she said that at that point, right now, would be a good point if we were going to stop it. So that's why I'm just trying to put a time or a date on it that we need to make up our minds. It's just for that reason.
On the 10th, should we
Yeah, I need more
come
time to
earlier
think about
and
it.
on the 10th and meet with her earlier instead of in the meeting, just have two?
Anything we do in regard to that position, that's why we're talking here, has to be an open meeting, so.
Right, I'm saying, I mean, do we want to come early, or do we want to just put it on the regular agenda? Do we want to have like a special meeting prior to the regular
Oh,
meeting
we
that
can
night?
talk it out, oh.
Yeah, I
Could do
mean, do we
that.
wanna do that, or
A
do we
special
wanna put
meeting.
it on the regular agenda, or do we wanna come like
We
at
can do it.
5 o'clock or 5:30, or just put on the regular agenda, just have a
5:30
special meeting and then the regular meeting?
It would still be open to the public, though.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And then she would have an idea how many applications she's already gotten and
Right.
how many,
Or we
I
could
guess
put on the,
some
ag-
more
or we could just
information.
start at 6 and put on an agenda, and it could be a late night, who knows?
But also
It's gonna be a late night if
too,
that's.
one of the
You're not gonna get
other,
it done in a half hour.
Yeah, you're true on that too, I mean,
but one of the other factors too is that if indeed, you know, Ms. McAnally stays in that particular position, then that has to be negotiated, because when she signed up until,
What
what,
is,
July?
what is the
to-
process? I mean, I know we can't talk.
Well, there's three pieces to the negotiation puzzle. The first, which is in your bucket, which is the terms of the superintendent contract. That would have to be either renegotiated, or the agreement would have to be made with the party that you're interested in contracting with.
But maintaining the interim.
Yes.
For a year.
Yes,
Would
that's your
entail
contract.
what?
I'm sitting on an.
It would either simply be extending that contract as is, or negotiating new terms to that contract. That's between you and the Board of Education and the interim superintendent. But if it is an interim position that we want to continue on, I currently now have 2 letter of understandings. I have one from RAZA, and I have one from the REA. And I would need to go back to those bargaining units and continue to negotiate for an extension of this agreement. And I haven't done that yet, because
We didn't know what direction we were gonna
Right.
be in.
right. So if it's the pleasure of the board, I can go back and have those preliminary conversations with the unions to determine where they're at with that as an option. Because if they come back to me, you know, and say, one of the groups says, you know what, that's way too outside of the terms and conditions of our contract, we're not comfortable negotiating that. That might be the
So just so that I'm clear, the RASA contract right now is, the agreement that, the letter of understanding that we have with Ms. McAnally and the board. The REA is with who is filling in for her at
That's correct. And
at
if,
Roundel.
and it would be my recommendation, if the board wants to move in that direction, that we continue that same relationship, because we wouldn't want to hire somebody in as a principal.
Right, and this, basically, the conversation was that we keep things as they are today for 1 year.
Yeah.
And then do
That
the
that was,
search.
that's my understanding.
It's
We're not
easy.
acting,
Yeah.
we're not looking to, like, put a new principal in at Rommel because she's here, or, you know,
That 1 year
Then it's
is
just-
January 2015.
it would be June. June. But if we decided at that point.
That would be a year and a half, right?
Be a
Well,
year
for-
on
well,
it.
Well,
It
she's,
won't be a year on
her
the
contract ends this June.
be a year on the
So
contract
extending
she
it for a
has.
year would take
Oh.
June of 2015.
She's already got the 6 months.
Right.
but you're
I
saying
guess.
also,
Yeah, that's.
we would have to have the other ones agree to extend the other contracts before we could even do that.
That's correct. I'd have to negotiate with them. I mean, I don't really see it as an issue, but I don't know. I mean, I have to have that conversation. You know, it's one thing to have a variance of a contract for 6 months. It's another thing,
Right.
particularly with the teacher union, you know, for a year and a half.
We just have so much on the table already for it. We have a lot on the table as is in that.
And I think that's probably, Tamika, probably one of the reasons why this came up, because we do have so much on the table. So if we can at least get and since we have someone that's in the district, that hit the ground running, so to speak, in place, so we can get that business manager, we can get, you know, whatever we decide, that curriculum person, get those people in place, and then if we get to that year, okay, we're looking for a superintendent, whether she wants the job, wants to put in for it, or, because I'm thinking that's the reasoning. That's
It
what
seems
I
like
get
we're
in my
going
head.
backwards, though. If she gotta go back and renegotiate and all, it just seems like we're going backwards instead of moving forward. And like I said, it's just the confusion that you putting out to the community. It doesn't send a good message. I don't know how everybody feel about it, but it does not send a good message. It does not. It doesn't send a good message at all. You're saying one thing, then you turn around and do something different, and, you know, we're trying to work towards, you know, being more
I think, but my
It doesn't
thing
send a
is,
message.
I
If you-
think,
if you made
okay.
a decision,
But
she
but my-
agreed to the contract, it was 6 months, we need to move forward with that.
I think, to me, everything is decent in order, so if you can explain the things that you do, say, okay, as a board, we decided that the interim was doing a good job. We wanted to keep that going until we get other things in place. This way, number one, it'll save us money. Number two, we can get, like I said, she hit the ground running, so we wouldn't have to get that transition of trying to get someone else in. And it'll probably be before the end of the school year, before then school will be out, before they kind of get acclimated to even the district, depending on who we pick.
I would say, I can understand what you're saying, but
And we
That's
may
just-
have-
that's
I
just-
just
but
feel
we
like,
may have
we
jumped the
have
gun,
somebody
too,
in
by
there that's keeping
pushing
us
to do this.
informed, but we haven't did it right. As a board, we really haven't given any new goals, in regards to our superintendent. So, I thank you for definitely keeping us informed of what's going on, but,
But she's doing, well.
I mean, this is how I personally feel.
I got you.
Like I said, I look at numbers, I look at
All right, so
facts.
So what,
So, right
we
now,
know
I'm
what
looking at.
Tamika wants, so what does everybody else want me to do?
I would still like to talk about it on the 10th, but,
10th.
so right now, if you extended it, we have to go through 2 contracts, and then in January or February 2015, we would have to initiate a new superintendent search, correct?
You would either have to initiate a new search, what Marie told me is in January of 2015, we would either have to initiate a new search, our option is we could appoint Margie if she is wanting the position, we could ask and appoint her as superintendent and not do a search, or we do the search.
And I think she's doing a great job, and, but then, someone did mention in November with the election, we could have 0 to 4 new board members,
Exactly.
and, you could have technically maybe 4 new people who've never done a search before come January, February, and how up to speed would they'd have to be brought up, and could be confusing to them too.
No matter how you look at it, you got a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I mean, you have new people that are gonna be getting their feet wet, just like us 3 were, in our search.
I'm sure
That's not
those
our
people,
decision.
I'm sure
That's
those
I mean, I was on
people,
board
I'm
for years,
sure,
and
sure,
the
those-
search
yeah,
was
I'm sure
tough.
those people will be more than capable of doing a search if they wanted to.
It's not our position.
If not, they'd have to learn pretty quick. So,
So you guys want me to go back to Marie and tell her she'll be here on the 10th, and we'll have a decision for her on the 10th?
Yeah, but I think Rebecca's asking
Oh.
for some, because
Do
if
we-
the decision is to keep her, and I'm sorry to talk about you like you're not sitting there. I'm so sorry, it just feels so weird. But to have her in the position remain for an additional year, I guess, what type of time constraint are you on? I mean, so let me ask it this way. Do we need to have a decision from their end, from the negotiation end before the 10th?
No, but I would like permission to go and approach the unions to start thinking about extending this.
To
plant the seed.
Extending this for another year.
I'd
That they're- I say go ahead.
Pursue it.
Just so that you have more information.
Well,
Yeah.
if one of them says no, then that kind of makes
It's
our
a done
decision
deal.
right there.
Right,
Okay.
So, board consensus that she goes ahead and at least plants the seed.
at least plant the seed, just plant the seed. We have not made a decision, because I'm still on the fence about it, just so everybody know.
I hear
in
1,
TV land.
2, 3 to plant the seed. Cheryl's 4.
that's what I said.
Sandy?
See, I don't look at it as planting the seed. I look at it as seeing if there are any obstacles.
Right.
That's how I look at it.
Okay, well, that too.
Information. You're right.
Right. You're right.
And I don't have an
Objection to that.
To find out if there are obstacles.
Okay.
It's just another piece of information that you can use to make a decision.
There is not going to be anything formally done, it's just a conversation.
Okay.
And then we'll formally do it on the 10th.
We'll have to make a decision on the 10th.
Just put it on the regular agenda then, on the 10th?
I say just put it on the
Okay.
regular agenda, and then
It'll be
that
on the agenda
way,
on the 10th.
you know,
We have to
at the
make a
regular
decision one way or the
time.
other.
you need to be here, come on.
But
And
do
I
they
will have
think
Marie
that
get
we're gonna
us the,
extend High school principal and the other people got interims too, or will
No,
they?
that we just, all we talking about is one thing.
All right.
and I will
Thanks
also,
for even up.
in
So we talking
regards
about
to
one
the
thing right
10th,
now, that's it. Nothing else. I'm sorry.
That's okay. In regards to the 10th also, I will have, she said she'd have that written report finished,
Okay.
and I'll have her supply it to us sooner than the 10th. So she probably will have it emailed to all of us.
Talking about the survey?
Yeah, and let me know, well, I converted the one to a PDF for John, so I don't, that one form. So if she sends it again as a doc instead of a PDF, and if you're able to open the PDF, just somebody let me know, and I can, at home, I can scan it into a PDF and resend it out if you can't open the doc.
What is it? I'm sorry.
These will be the
results?
written report
Gotcha.
from
The
the
profile.
from the public meetings, and
Okay.
probably, I'm assuming from the profiles too.
Okay.
17th, right?
And just so that I'm clear, I just want to ask before we move on.
The 10th, yeah.
We would eventually have to, if we were to extend the contract, just so that I'm clear about what you said, are you saying that we would have to repay for the services through Michigan Association of School Boards?
We would have to, it would be a new contract.
Okay.
Right now, we're doing this on our existing contract.
Right.
And approximately how much is that, so we can kind of make a comparison?
Well, it was,
It's like 5
wasn't
to
it?
10 or something like that?
No, it was
I just
five.
know it was a range.
it was.
I'm not sure,
No,
but I thought it was 5.
I thought it was 5 too. But,
I got I'll have to pull the contract out, but it's within there. It's between 5,000 and 8,000.
because when we first
we
did
did
it, yeah,
already.
because, yeah.
And I think at the time, that was the cheapest way for us to go, is why that's why we went that way.
Right.
It was.
And they're only doing it for free now because
Right.
it was less than a year for our
Right.
last superintendent search, so. All right, so the next item on our agenda then is communications and expressions from the public. I don't have anything in front of me, but if anybody would like to speak, you're more than welcome to come up to the microphone.
I guess it's you. Hello.
Yes, do I need to give you?
You can, sure, that way I can have your name and stuff. Thank you. And just make sure that the mic is turned on so the public can hear you
It's a,
for our
Ah,
taping.
There you go.
Members of the board, members of the community who are here, good evening.
good evening.
My name is Dr. Louise A.J. I am the Executive Director of the Josie Odom Morris Literacy Project. We are having a reading challenge, and this reading challenge, you know that March is reading month.
Right.
And I would like to represent the organization to ask your permission if we could distribute forms to the students inviting them to participate in the reading challenge. Now, what we would be doing is, I notice it does say 3 minutes, so I will try to stay within our 3 minutes. I have the actual forms here so that you could look at them. And we will distribute them to the students and ask that the parents give their permission for the students to read. It would be from a period of March 1st to March 31st. Now, once they have finished reading, they will use that form as they read, which is the third item here. They would use that in order to record their readings. What they've read, it would be the title, the author, the date, and then we're asking that the parents monitor their reading and initial it to let us know that they have read it. And then on April the 5th, we're inviting all the students whose applications we have received to come to our reading forum with their families and all, so that they would be able to receive a certificate and possibly some other form of recognition, which has not been determined as yet. We'd like to know how many would be able to participate. So that is why I have come this evening. And if I could just take a few minutes and pass these out to you now.
Could I ask what grades?
Oh, thank you very much. That was in my notes. It's K through 5 written on this piece of paper. But I know in some of the buildings there may be the 6th grade. So in that case, it could also be distributed to the 6th grade. We want as many students to participate in the reading as possible.
What's the name of your organization again?
Josie Odom Morris Literacy Project Incorporated. In short, we go with the acronym JOMLP. And this is an organization that was started by a young lady by the name of Robin Morris in honor of her grandmother, and who was an educator. So we've been in existence since 2007, encouraging literacy throughout the community. And as I pass this out, you will see some information here concerning the organization. As far as the dates, you will also see that we're requesting that the forms be returned by the 25th, which is tomorrow. Unfortunately, I could not get the forms out to you earlier. The place where we're having the actual reading forum, I wanted confirmation on that, and I did not get it until the very last, that Friday before we got up for the winter break.
Will they be able to have an extension on that?
So
that
the
date?
date, we've changed it until Thursday.
Okay.
If they could receive them, and what I know that we're up against time, but what I would like to be able to do is, if you give, if you're kind enough to give the permission, I need an estimate of the number so that if you choose to, if any of the buildings are able to, I am packaging them according to 25% so that it can be distributed out to the classrooms in that way. I do not have that number, but I need to have a number with regards to the number of students in the different buildings so I can have the correct number. So yes, that date for the parental permission will be changed, and it may even have to go into next week as long as the students are encouraged to read.
Okay.
Do you have a book list for each grade that you want this child to read, or can they pick their own book to read? And
The
Thank you.
students can select grade-appropriate
books? Okay.
Now, in some households, we do understand that it is the possibility that they do not have such books, or they're not going to the library to get books. In that case, my telephone number is there, where they would be able to call and request age-appropriate books.
Where are you guys located at?
We're located in Inkster, Michigan. Our form, this would be at the time that the forum will be at Robichaud High School in the Westwood Community Schools District. We are appealing to all 4 districts where the students from Inkster were distributed.
So you, last year you offered this program to the former Inkster student
Yes,
school
this is,
district, right?
this will
Okay.
be our 5th program.
Okay.
And the students were encouraged also to come to our reading extravaganza, which we had in September.
Okay.
And we did have some of your students
Great.
attend, as well as the Inkster students. This is open to all the students within your district.
What were the extension dates again that you discussed?
28th,
To Thursday.
Thursday.
28th.
To
28th.
Thursday, but due to the fact right now, I need to have some numbers. I would have to have things duplicated. Then I don't know if you have a means, if I brought them over to the admin building, they could be circulated, or if I would need to go, see, that's another thing. I need the protocol that you have within your district for getting materials out to the students.
Well, the first part of the protocol actually is the policy is it has to go through the superintendent's office. They have to approve any forms that get distributed through this district. And then once the superintendent approves it all, then they can get them distributed throughout the district, if everything's okay. So the superintendent has to approve these.
So we need to connect you with our interim.
So that's the first,
McAnally.
that's the first part.
That's all
They
you
have to
need to do.
approve.
That's all you need to do.
Okay, I need numbers.
Yes.
All right, okay. Are there any other questions?
No, I think it's a
I
great
think
program. Sounds
anything that
great.
encourages reading is a plus.
All right, and due to the fact of your question, we have
All
had
elementaries have
this program
libraries,
for
right, for
5
books.
years. The organization has been in existence since 2007.
Is there a way that, would there be a possibility that you'd be able to let us know how many students from the current district, Romulus Community Schools, signed up for the program and completed it with you at the end, after the program's over, if there's a way?
Once I have the, if you will notice, there is a form, and that should be the second one. Once I have the applications there, then I have made the request, the name of the school the child attends, as well as we found it was good for us to know the homeroom teacher, so that hopefully we would be able to encourage the teacher to support their students. Yes, we should be, and we are at a point now where we are trying to keep that data
Great.
from one year to another. And since the students are in different districts, yes, we will be maintaining that. And
Great.
hopefully, I'll be able to come back and give you some information on that.
Good.
Although you will find that it says 20, we're encouraging more than 20 students.
I have one other
Yes.
question. Have you spoken with anyone at the Romulus Library? Because I'm sure that they could probably get
No.
students that come there involved as well.
For
Like another
actual,
outlet.
for actual speaking to individuals or
No,
to the
to
board,
participate.
I have not spoken to the Romulus Library. Unfortunately, you'll have to inform me as to those other places that I might go
Okay.
to seek
Okay.
participants.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And did we have anybody else that'd like to speak tonight? Okay. Then that takes us to the portion of our agenda for questions and concerns of board members. Mr. Kudrick.
The only thing I have to really compliment is our bowling team. They did pretty good from all the comments and that I've seen. Our boys and girls did very well from the high school bowling team. They're really starting to make a name for themselves out there, and that's really about it right now.
Okay, Ms. Bowles?
I just wanted to say, in regards to, Wake Elementary, I went to their Black History, program, and it was great, and I just want to say, good job, to all of the students. I really enjoyed the program. Good job to all the teachers, and good job to the principal.
Thank you, Mrs. Crowe.
Tuesday is Student of the Month, which is tomorrow night, and then Thursday night is the pre-festival band concerts.
She
So-
stole my thunder.
I'm sorry.
What is it, pre-band festival?
Pre-festival, yeah.
Pre-festival band
Wednesday,
concert.
what time?
That's Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Thursday?
Good.
What's the time for that?
I think it's 6 p.m., isn't it?
Actually, I
Six-
didn't
is it
write
6
it
now?
down.
See, I always put an hour earlier because my kids have to be here earlier, so I always have a different time than what's reported. I have 6 p.m., but again, my
Okay.
kids might have to be there early.
Mr. Thied?
I'd just like to throw out some thoughts to Mrs. Frederick.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband, I believe, passed away yesterday, I believe. They were on a trip to
Saturday.
Florida.
It was Saturday,
yeah.
yeah.
And we all know probably Judy from all her years around school and city functions. So keep her in your thoughts.
I just want to say, it's my turn?
Yeah, Mrs. Buckley.
Again, go Lady Eagles. They won their game tonight. They play Wednesday at 5 o'clock at John Glenn. So if you guys are available, go support the Lady Eagles. And I think the boys start Monday. So,
And these are for districts, right?
districts, yes.
Team go to districts and they scored 10.
Mrs. Funderburg?
Nothing at this time.
I don't know who they play.
Okay, Mrs. For me, I have, unfortunately, I can't get my emails because I don't have the internet, but I just wanted to put the word out there to some of our special ed families that, the Michigan Administrative Rules for Special Education are under review, and there are proposed changes. And right now, we are in an open public comment period for those changes. I believe it's till March, is it March 12th? Yeah, it's till March 12th or 13th is for submitting your public comment. If you go to MDE website, go to special education link, and you bring up their page, they have a PDF document that explains which items are proposed for change. They also have videos that you can click on, and they will tell you what some of those changes are. Some of them are, I know one is involved vision and hearing impaired. There's a change for something to do with some of the forms are changing.
They're changing the sequence of events, so parents are gonna have to agree to services, and then the services are presented at the next meeting.
Right. So, this is your opportunity to make those comments if you wanted to make those comments. I'm trying to think of what else I have. I think that's it. And then we have our meeting on the 10th. So I guess with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Kudrick, supported by Mrs. Funderburg. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion, meeting adjourned at 7:38.